Welcome to another Mumbrella video hangout. We're coming to you from INMA, and we're actually in the Congress room. I'm here with Ross Dawson, futurist and one of the keynote speakers of today's event. Ross, you've stirred the pot in a number of ways today. I always enjoy watching you put up your kind of lifespan of newspapers and watching the room kind of recoil in shock as they kind of see that some newspapers might not be around in only a couple of years. And you're talking about that. One of the things I wanted to get your view on was around a warning you had for publishers that around Facebook, and you were saying to them that giving over their content to the Facebook newsfeed could be a bit of a danger. Could you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, well, absolutely. I think all organizations, news organizations, don't have their own platforms, which includes paper sometimes and their own websites, but more and more we're using other platforms to distribute, including Twitter, Facebook, and so on. So we need to build a platform strategy, and really just looking at, in the case of individual platforms such as Facebook, what are the potential paths this could take? And that could be simply that you have another channel for distribution, of which you can generate some more revenue. However, there's also a risk that Facebook essentially takes a chunk of your audience that becomes one of your most prominent distribution channels, at which point they could choose to cut off or to have power over you as a distribution channel. So we do not know those paths, but each publisher needs to assess what are the potential stories or paths or scenarios that could pan out, and to be aware if they are going into working with Facebook, for example, in distribution, that's to take the risks and recognize the risks of doing that.
Well, they're really, as you described, they're handing over their future in a lot of ways to these guys and don't really know where that might lead.
Absolutely. So the potential is for these are the distribution channels to access audiences who can't otherwise be able to get where they are, to be able to, at the moment, the potential to get 100% revenue from advertisers which come alongside that. However, at that point, as you say, they hold your future. And there's questions as to whether Facebook will act in a way that you would want them to at that point.
One of the other things you were talking about was the need for publishers to create their own platform and really engage the ecosystem and have that and build that community. Could you talk a bit about what you mean by that? And like, if you're a publisher, perhaps not the New York Times and that, but have had success in this, what should they be doing, and what's your perspective on this?
Well, I think there's 2 points to make. One is that there's the potential for organizations to together create platforms, and a great case study of that is Piano Media in Slovakia, which has 9 publishing organizations which have together created a paywall, aggregated their publications, and be able to create together a platform which for giving access to that information. But I think it is difficult to be able to create your own platform as an organization, yet that is a viable strategy. That has to be part of the strategic agenda, to be able to create a platform which can involve participants, multi-sided participants in terms of either creating content or distributing content or engaging in that, advertisers being involved, and the whole point of a platform is you are enabling others to participate and create value. And so this is a big ask. It is I suppose there are far more that have the ambitions to create a platform and will be able to succeed at it. But I think that there are some publishers which do have the resources and capabilities to say, yes, we will make a platform play to be able to build our own platform, which is essentially a multi-sided market where we can bring many people to bear.
One of the other things you were challenging publishers about was actually around this idea of crowdsourcing, and we're often hearing about whether it's social media sourcing or with video, and obviously we've seen the rise of Periscope and Meerkat in recent weeks, and the fact that news outlets are really keen to use that. You're arguing that publishers are looking to actually pay people to be their eyes and ears, and kind of maybe is it outsourcing some of the reporting, or how would you describe it?
So I think the first point to make is that the crowdsourcing is not just submission of content to news publications. I identified there's 12 different domains which crowds can participate in, everything from providing information through fact-checking and validation and data gathering.
And your slides will be on this video, so if you're interested, check out the slides.
So crowds can participate in many ways, and if these crowds are creating value, I think that there's always professionals plus amateurs, and often plus algorithms. avatars. So the avatars themselves, I think that's what social media is essentially. But if you have the professionals involved in conjunction with the crowds in terms of being able to filter, edit, to be able to tell stories from the information provided, that's where the true value gets created. Yet without the crowd, there is, again, often not as much value. So I think that there is the potential to be able to say, this is a pool of money that we will share out amongst the people who are either creating content. And that could be anything from submitting content to be able to filter that, to be able to engage in some of the conversations or refinements or discussion, engage that around local issues, for example, or other things where you can get some real engagement. And that's where people will say, if I'm going to contribute, why not do something where I'm sharing in that value? And if that indeed leads to greater monetization from advertisers or otherwise, then if the crowd is participating in that increased revenue, that's a positive cycle. There are a lot of negative cycles engaged in the publishing industry at the moment. If you can engage this positive cycle in terms of participation, engagement, reward, and sharing rewards as they increase, I think that this is a potential for those who can play that well to far outplay the competitors.
And exactly that point, you mentioned that in a competitive environment, when people do content for anyone, if someone does offer, how do you think that they'll get a competitive advantage over the rest of the market?
I think there's other things that are required. I think that it does require this ethos of actually genuinely looking for that contribution from crowd, from people to create the content. But if there is, in addition, we will financially recognize that as well, I think that becomes a proposition which people will be attracted to. It does require the right ethos. It does require the kind of mindset of looking for contribution. No.
Right. Final question. We've just seen a presentation from New Yorker and also by more like wrestling on paywalls. What did you someone was from using paywalls? I'm just curious. Was there anything that stood out from the question for you? Or?
Well, I think what was particularly interesting was at the end when the moderator asked the audience to stand up if they felt they had a successful paywall, and almost nobody was there.
Except for the New York Times, and that was a little bit disturbing. I'm not sure if the guys from Fairfax News were there, but it does raise questions.
Absolutely. And I think it's interesting. We already saw one cycle just over a decade ago introducing paywalls, which were basically abandoned. We are now clearly going through another phase. Also, interestingly, INMA and the opening of the conference shared information showing that paywalls are going significantly off the agenda for news organizations.
At the same time, a lot of publications do have a paywall down, don't they?
Absolutely, and I think this is part of the mix. Is that this is part of the grand experiment? We need to experiment. It is absolutely different according to country, according to audience demographics, in terms of types of content. Wall Street Journal and New York Times clearly have the ability to attract paywalls, but in other types of organizations, it is a lot more challenging. And you always need to add up what is the benefits of being able to be more open in content, and be able to engage with not just advertising but other revenue forms, and including ones which are more directly tied to purchasing behaviors. And
we saw a bit of discussion at the end of that, so everyone stood up and kind of gave a bit of a sense of it. And there was a bit of discussion about at the end of what to call it, and the fact that a number of people are moving to a membership. Do you see membership as being, again, part of that ecosystem and part of the value proposition that we might well end up with as a model?
I believe that memberships are absolutely should be on the agenda for many organizations, publishing organizations. And it's not part of this thing is how do we move to where there is a sense of affiliation. And I think the community is strongly tied to this idea of membership. So the Guardian is looking towards a membership thing where you're looking, these are people who want to sustain that, they are values aligned, their values aligned with other people in the community, they want to engage with them and connect with them. So those organizations that can truly build a community, people that feel a sense of affiliation, and sometimes it's semantics as whether you call it subscription or membership. But I think that if you start to bring in more community-focused elements around membership, this can do that.
All right, thank you very much, and we'll be back with another hangout soon.